Hello everyone, my name is Dr. Varsha Singh, Assistant Professor in Department of Painting, Vasant Kanya Mahavidyalaya, Kamacha, Varanasi. Now I am going to present my presentation, Module 3. The title of this course, Postmodern Art and Literature, Theory and Practice. This is my lecture number 3. The topic of this lecture is Emergence of Art Movement during Postmodern Era, Part 2. Now, we are going to discuss about Neorealism. Neorealism, an artistic movement of Postmodern Era. On October 27, 1960, art critic Pierre Restini named a group of Paris-based artists the Nouveaux Realists, Neorealists. Neorealism means new perceptual approaches of the real. It was an art movement led by French and European artists who reacted against lyricism of abstract art and the rise of consumer culture in post-war Europe. Neorealism presentation of reality was certainly new. The artists were reacting to their environment in post-war Europe. Together with art critic Pierre Restini, the group published a manifesto in 1960 and began exhibiting internationally, notably in the New Realists show at New York's Sidney Janis Gallery. Pierre Restini stated, "The new realists recognize their collective singularity." One of the many avant-garde movements of the 1960s, the neorealism was French transposition and was contemporary with American pop art. Performative techniques were used by neorealists to create alternative social meanings. The neorealists used external objects of describe the reality of their time, seeking to bridge the gap between art and everyday life. They used real-world materials and objects through methods such collage, assemblage, and performance. The neorealists were inventor of decollage technique, the opposite of collage. Along with this, they made extensive use of collage and assemblage, incorporating real objects directly into the work. Along with Rassini, the group included Armin, Francois, Dufresne, Raymond Hans, Ewan Klein, Marshall Reyes, Daniel Spory, Jean Tinguely, and Jacques Velas. Here, neorealism, along with neorealism, some other movements also similar to neorealism: contemporary realism and photorealism. Contemporary realism. Contemporary realism refers to a style of art practiced by modern-day artists who paint realistic subjects using traditional techniques while engaging with current themes, perspectives, and aesthetics. Photorealism is a genre of art in which paintings are created to resemble high-resolution photographs as closely as possible, often using photographs as direct reference and aiming for meticulous detail, clarity and surface finish. Notable artworks of Neorealism. In 1958, U.S. Klein staged Lee Wide, The Void, at the Iris colored gallery, an exhibition consisting of an empty white painted space with only a single cabinet. He turned the event into a performance with blue decoration, guards, and blue cocktails. Despite the absence of artworks, over 3,000 visitors attended, drawn by heavy publicity. Works like Leviathan, The Void emphasized absence and the unseen, reflecting a new way of realistically presenting the immersive, a radical take on realism that extended beyond physical representation. Another example of neorealism, La Sainte Family, the Holy Family, made in 1986 by Daniel Spory. Daniel Spory, La Sainte Family 1986 is a mixed media assemblage blending traditional tapestry with kitsch and contemporary elements. It features a lion family in a lush landscape, echoing the Christian Holy Family motif. A neon yellow R above the lion's head mimics a halo, humorously elevating the animal to a saint like figure. The work playfully combines religious iconography, nature, and pop culture, offering a satirical yet thoughtful take on divinity and domestic symbolism. The next art movement is post minimalism, an artistic movement of postmodern era. Post-minimalism emerged in the mid-1960s as a reaction to minimalist art, incorporating its industrial materials and geometric structures while challenging its rigid formalism and emotional detachment. Coined by critic Robert Pincus Witten in 1971. The term describes a wide range of practice, including process art, conceptual art, body art, land art, and performance art. Unlike minimalism's focus on performance and objectivity, post-minimalist artists emphasized irregularity, chance, and the creative process itself. They often used organic materials, the human body, and natural or urban space in their work. Artists like Eva Hesse reintroduced emotion and bodily reference. Richard Serra focused on process, and Linda Benglis and Barry Leva embraced fluid, scattered forms. Others like Vito Acconci and Robert Smithson critiqued gender norms and redefined art's relationship to space and environment. Overall, post minimalism expanded artistic boundaries, favoring process, impermanence, and personal or social context over formal purity. Characteristics of post minimalist art. In post minimalist art, emphasis on process over final product, use of ephemeral, flexible, and contingent materials, incorporation of body, performance, and gender critique. Next, artworks that are site responsive and often non permanent. Next, painting, sculpture, and performance. The last one is critique of masculinity, objectivity, and autonomy in minimalist and modernist art. Notable post minimalist artist Eva Hassan, next Richard Serra, next one is Robert Morris, fourth one is Bruce Newman, fifth one is Linda Benglis, and next is Barilla Va. Notable artworks of post-minimalist. Here is a work of Eva Hesse titled Sans Second, made in 1968. The medium of this work is polyester resin and fiberglass. Sans Second, 1968. Eva Hessel's Sans Second, 1968 is a minimalist grid sculpture and subtly reveals emotional complexity beneath its structured forms. Made of translucent fiberglass, the piece contrasts a rigid outer shapes with delicate, chaotic textures within. This tension between order and fragility suggests hidden emotional turmoil, with the vulnerable fibers beneath the surface hinting at deeper psychological or historical trauma. Hesse's work captures the interplay of control and vulnerability, making the invisible visible through material and forms. The next artist is Richard Serra. Richard Serra's verbalist reflects his belief that drawing is a verb. In his influential work, he compiled a list of action words to roll, to fold, to cut that express ways to engage with materials, space, and self. This language based drawing played a key role in shaping his early sculptural approach and links his process across mediums. Verbalist highlights Serra's connection to action painting, conceptual art, and performance, and was published in Avalanche in 1971. It also reveals high shared artistic ethos with dancers like Ewan Renner and Simone Forte, emphasizing action a central to creation. Now, the next art movement is Neo Expressionism, an artistic movement of postmodern era. Here is a key points. New Expressionism is a style of late modernist or early postmodern painting and sculpture that emerged in the late 1970s. The New Expressionists were sometimes called the Expressionists were sometimes called Transvangarde, Jungi Wild, or New Wilden, New Wild People, New Fauves would better serve the meaning of the term. It is characterized by intense subjectivity and a rigorous treatment of materials. The rise of Neo Expressionism as a movement began with the work of German artist George Baselitz. Origins and rejection of earlier movements emerged as a reaction against minimalism and conceptual art, rejected the purity, sparseness, and intellectual detachment of those movements, still influenced by earlier art forms like German Expressionism, abstract expressionism, pop art. Key characteristics of New Expressionist art. Here is some points. Depiction of identifiable objects often layered with emotion or violence. Use of vibrant, highly contrasted color. Paint applied with thick, expressive brushwork. Figures are often distorted, abstracted, or cartoon like. Frequent incorporation of non traditional materials like straw, wood, stand. Subject matter of intense drawing from historical events, mythology, and folklore. Prominent neo expressionist artists Georges Baselitz, Jean-Michel Basquiat, Eric Fischl, Philip Gaston, Julian Scanbil, Anselm Kiefer, David Saleh, and Francesco Clement. The prominent artist is Georges Baselitz, born in 1938 in Germany, became renowned for his symbolic use of chiaroscuro, contrasting light and dark to convey deep psychological themes. His works often features dark, foreboding landscapes that suggest a loss of past and uncertain future. In paintings like Ludwig Richer on his way to work, Baselitz depicts lone figure immersed in darkness, reaching into emptiness and destruction, symbolizing the shattered ideals, and identity crisis following World War II. His art explores themes of identity, trauma, and post war, blending classical techniques with modern political commentary. As a result, Baselitz is also widely regarded as a founding figure of the New Expressionist movement. Here is an example of George Baselitz's work, The Forest on Its Head. The Forest on Its Head, 1969. The medium is oil on canvas, painting by George Baselitz, and it marks a pivotal movement in the artist's career, introducing his now iconic inverted imagery techniques. The painting depicts a forest scene turned upside down, forcing viewers to confront the subject in a radically unfamiliar way. This inversion was not a surrealist gesture, but Baselitz's way of disrupting narrative expectations and focusing attention on form, color, and painterly techniques. By inverting the scene, Baselitz distances the viewer emotionally and emphasizes the painting as an object rather than a window into a scene. Now, next artist is Jean-Michel Basquiat. Jean-Michel Basquiat, born in Brooklyn in 1960. He gained recognition in the late 1970s with El Diaz through graffiti tagged Samo, playing art with daddy's money. He broke into the art world after 1980s Times Square Shadow show. He featured in Rene Ricard's 1981 articles The Radiant Child, which helped launch his career. He became a key figure during 1980s art boom and cultural wars. He critiqued racism, tokenism, and elitism of the art world. He addressed historical injustice, especially related to slavery, colonialism, and black invisibility. His fame highlighted the contradiction of being celebrated yet marginalized. He known for layered composition with text, symbols, lists, diagrams, and imagery. He influenced by jazz, black history, religion, and urban life. He used improvisation, ambiguity, and chaotic energy to reflect the complexity of the world. Jean-Michel Basquiat died in 1988 at the age of 27. Here is a example of his work is Riding with Death. Made in 1988, the medium of this work is acrylic and pencil on canvas. It is in private collection. Riding with Death is one of Jean-Michel Basquiat's final work, completed before his death in 1988. Unlike his typical vibrant style, this painting is stark and minimal, showing a dark-skinned figure riding a white skeleton against a textured being background. The image is haunting. Both figures appear fragmented and decaying, evoking themes of mortality, power, and racial identity. Inspired by a Leonardo da Vinci sketch, Basquiat reinterprets it through the lens of African and primitive art, confronting Western artistic norms and radical racial stereotypes. The figure on top, possibly a self reference, symbolizes a reversal of power, yet its placement atop a skeleton also conveys doom and despair. The work reflects Basquiat's deep cynicism towards society and created shortly before his death hints at his personal turmoil. Thank you.